This is Pete Fry, the Goalie Mindset Guy with the Goalie Mindset Podcast. Today, I am honored to have on the legendary Kevin Weeks. Kevin played 348 NHL games. He's now a studio analyst for NHL Network, On the Fly, NHL Tonight, ESPN's The Point, and worked also for ESPN ABC. Kevin played in the Quebec International Pee Wee Hockey Tournament, was played for the Owen Sound and also for Ottawa 67s in the OHL. He was selected 41st overall, which is super high for a goaltender, by the Florida Panthers in the 1993 NHL entry draft. A lot of people may not know this. Kevin was also an MVP in the 1996 Spengler Cup, like the MVP, the best player in the tournament, and was traded at one point for the Russian Rocket. If you guys don't know who the Russian Rocket is, Pavel Bure was traded for Pavel Bure. Kevin also recorded back-to-back shutouts in the NHL playoffs. He had a GAA of 2.88, which is super impressive, especially during the time period that you played in. 19 shutouts, 107 NHL wins. And also, I didn't know this about you, Kevin, until I did a little research. He's appeared in All My Children, One Life to Live, and Everybody Hates Chris. I'm honored to have on the great Kevin Weeks. Kevin, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Pete, thank you so much, man. I appreciate your kind intro. That takes me back quite a bit. I can't believe it. I'm 48 years young. And you even mentioned the Quebec Pee Wee tournament. I remember with our minor hockey team in Toronto, we took a bus from Toronto to Quebec City for that Quebec Pee Wee tournament. And I'll never forget when we pulled up at the Colisée where the Nordiques used to play. I felt like I stepped into the NHL at 13 years old. It was a wild ride. It was such a unique experience. I'm sure a lot of guys on the pod may have had the opportunity to play in it, but that was like playing in the NHL at 13. And if anything, that cemented my goal. Not that it required that, but that cemented my goal even more of I'm going to play in the NHL.
Wow. Yeah. In fact, that's the first thing that I want to dive into. I want to dive into, like, what age did you first say, hey, I think I have a love for this game, I want to play?
It's wild. For me, it was pretty clear at 6.
Six
Yeah,
years
6 years
old.
In the States, you say first grade. Back in Canada, at home, you'll say grade 1. So Miss Mahar was our teacher in grade 1, my teacher.
Miss Mahar, you remember her name?
Miss Mahar, yeah, I remember her name. And I'm sure, like a lot of students, you have to make a book and make different books about things you're interested in, or just future kind of goals. What do you want to be when you grow up? What do you love doing? It's all a part of that self-discovery and discovery of what your goals are and what your interests are, and how those two things kind of intertwine. And for me at 6, I did a couple books on playing hockey, and specifically me playing in the NHL. And I remember drawing a scoreboard. Remember, the scoreboards were a lot different than at center ice. And on the scoreboard, I drew the NHL shield, had like the score, and I basically drew a picture of myself playing goalie. And that was me expressing that, but at the same time, artistically, but at the same time, in my mind, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to play in the NHL. I wanted to be an NHL goalie. At 6 years old, for me, that was a crystal clear kind of long-term goal, but really life goal that I started chasing from then.
Wow. That is amazing. Well, when you did that, what did your teacher say anything, or?
Yeah, Miss Mahar, like, so basically what she did was she went around the room after we did our books, and you kind of had to refer to it, and she would, everybody was at a different reading level, obviously, at that age. But for, those of us that could kind of read at the time, we would read about it. And the good thing about her, she never really popped my balloon, which a lot of teachers,
which is impressive.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people can have a tendency to say, well, okay, no, Noah, that's a little unrealistic, or Jennifer, that's way too far out there, or you should do something like maybe become like me, maybe be a teacher or a doctor or a lawyer. A lot of things that were considered, to be top professions, certainly in at that time would have been 1981, right? So, but she never did that. And fortunately for me, my parents never did that. I went home and basically, my parents saw the book and I expressed that to my parents. And that was a very pivotal moment in my life, as it is for a lot of youngsters, where they never were balloon poppers of that dream and that goal. They never said, okay, this is impossible, or why would you even think that? Or, based on you being a young Black boy, it's highly unlikely, if not impossible, that you're going to play in the NHL. There was none of that. And I was very fortunate to not have that at the time from that teacher, Miss Mahar, but more importantly, at home from my mom and dad. Very, very fortunate.
Yes. I've heard it from, I don't know if you remember a goaltender, Darren Jensen played a little bit for the Flyers. He said, he did something like that in school. He's a little bit older and his teacher was just like, what are you thinking? Like you're crazy.
Totally. Well, it's funny, and not funny for laughs, but ironically speaking, as I got older, I had a couple teachers that were like that. And specifically, I remember, and not to get kind of sad on the story, but I remember being in grade ninth grade. I went to Bethune in Scarborough in Toronto before I left to go and play in the OHL before I was drafted. And I won't say his name because I don't really want to dignify him as such, but we had the head of boys phys ed, right? And he happened to be our basketball coach at the same time. And I played basketball those few years before going to the OHL. High school, started on the team, starting shooting guard, what have you. And I'll never forget, he called one of my late buddies and I in his office. It was a Saturday morning. I didn't have hockey. So we were there for like open gym just to play pickup. And he called us in the office. He's like, you really think that this hockey thing's going to work out for you? Do you really think that? I mean, you're a starter on the basketball team. You're a starter, not the schools, but you're a starter on my basketball team. You really think, if I were you, I would really just concentrate on basketball and I would forget all this hockey stuff. You're in my gym. You guys are in my gym. And I could see it. I could smell the aftershave that he had on. I could literally recall it to the T. And listen, I didn't need any kerosene oil on my fire to succeed and accomplish my goal. However, I'm very thankful that he was able to sprinkle some of that. Really, he doused my fire with his kerosene oil. And I was like, all right. So from that point onward, that was just rocket fuel for me. And again, I didn't need it, but that was rocket fuel. And truth be told, when I ended up getting drafted by Florida Panthers, when I ended up signing my first contract, when I ended up buying my first BMW M3, I literally drove it up to the school. I drove it to the back outside the gym. I parked it right there and made my entrance into the gym. And I made sure he saw me too. That was one of the most satisfying, gratifying things that I've ever experienced, I got to tell you.
That is phenomenal. And that was very Michael Jordan-ish. Like, I mean, because Michael Jordan was known for turning things around, right? So to take it, and it doesn't matter what happens, if you're clear enough on your goal, on where you're going, you take it and it becomes fuel, like you said, rocket fuel for you.
Very much so. It's funny you mentioned MJ, because MJ's always been, I've always loved, clearly, being an NHL goalie and all the goalies as a young goalie, whether it was Bill Ranford, whether it was Andy Moog, whether it was Grant Fuhr, Dominic Hasek, Marty Brodeur, Patrick Waugh, Belfour, all these guys that I grew up watching, especially as a youngster, and oddly enough, ended up playing against, which is trippy. Mike Vernon. I don't want anybody to feel left out. Kirk McLean, Mike Richter. There were so many of them.
All those guys. Yes.
All those guys. And they were so fun to watch, as you know, a lot of them.
Yeah.
And so dynamic. And those are my guys, obviously. But of all the sports, the guy for me was the great Michael Jordan. And what was crazy that you mentioned him is he was always my North Star in a lot of ways. And it was really cool that I've got a chance to meet him several times and be around him at a few of his events. And most recently, Brad Richards, who I played with, had an awesome NHL career. Who knows, could be a Hall of Famer. Richie and I played together in Tampa when he came in the league. And Richie and his family, they live in Florida now. So we're at our place in Florida, and he's like, "Hey man, I know MJ's your guy. I'm a member at his golf course, the Grove 23. Next time you guys are here, you're coming as my guest." So during the Stanley Cup final in short, we ended up going this past Stanley Cup final. And it was basically, there was about 15 NHL guys along with another GOAT by the name of Gretz there that day. So I honestly, Pete, I got there, I raced there because I had to do TSN from our place in Miami remotely, as you and I are on here. I literally, this is not for the younger kids on the pod, I feel like I drove close to 100 miles an hour to get there because Brad Richards was waiting for me, right? So I finally get up there, and I was there all day, talked to MJ, talked to Gretz, listened to all the stories, watched, just soaked it all in like a sponge. And it just kind of further validated why he's always been my North Star. Put it to you that way.
Okay. That's a great story. That is a great story. One thing that I forgot when I did the introduction, I forgot that how famous you are with your breaking news. And I was going to warn viewers that you never know. Kevin might have a breaking news story coming out even during the podcast here, right? Like that's been quite an accomplishment too, what you've been doing there.
Thank you so much. I really, okay. So essentially what happened with breaking news, it's kind of like being a goalie where I can go back to being young, where you want all the skills. Why? You're watching Patrick Waugh. I'm watching Ed Belfour. I'm watching the composure of Kirk McLean and Grant Fuhr's unreal clutch ability to make saves at the most critical times. And the reason why I'm referencing that from a goalie point of view is you don't master every skill set right away. It takes time, right? It takes time to refine these skills, to improve on them, and then to basically add them to your toolkit, into your game. So you're not just watching them on TV, you're actually implementing those skills, right? It's kind of the same thing. So over the years, I've been breaking some news, and I enjoyed doing that as well. And essentially what really happened is I started becoming frustrated in the fact that I'd have this information that I knew I could share publicly and what I knew I could break without violating relationships and confidences. And a lot of times I would go to some of our people at the different TV networks that I work with and say, "Hey, I have this. Can we announce this? Can I break this? Can I do this on the air?" We got to go to commercial. We're not really sure. We're doing another segment. We have another insider. So finally, I said to my wife, I'm like, I can't handle this anymore. She goes, "Why are you waiting for approval? Like, what are you doing? Why are you waiting for approval? Just go and break it on social. If you can't get the support that you need and that you deserve and you earned, just go and break it on social. That's what the fans want. Go direct to consumer." So essentially, because of her marketing genius brain, I was willing to listen. She had amazing counsel. And that's kind of how that ended up going viral and how it became a part of my broadcast skill set and arsenal, so to speak.
Wow. Well, you did a phenomenal job. People love it. Like they absolutely love, yeah. It's awesome.
Well, here's the thing, right? We're in such a unique time, and you've been excelling at this as you are, but there's so many different ways that you can connect, right? What you're doing is going beyond, "Hey, let's go to the rink. Hey, let's be in the crease. Hey, let me show you how you have to implement this RVH. Okay, no, let me show you why you got a challenge." Like there's so many different ways that you can connect and have a positive impact on a lot of your students, right? And I read all your stuff, I watch all your stuff unbeknownst to you, and you're doing an amazing job doing that. But you don't necessarily have to be at 8 rinks at Burnaby with every kid for that to be possible, if you get what I mean. So in a similar way, you're taking advantage of this amazing technology that we now have at our disposal. And I felt like, for my wife, that was a really good idea to do likewise, to be able to connect with the fans and give them more. Because here's the thing about news. News doesn't wait on you and I, right? It's just like goaltending techniques. They don't wait on you and I. So news is news when it's there, and when it's credible, and then when it's accurate, which we strive to be. You just want to get it to the end user, which are amazing hockey fans around the world. And they've had, Pete, it's been crazy. It's been almost just shy of 100 million impressions since I started breaking. Yeah, since I started breaking news. So that's really a testament to all the great hockey fans out there around the world, because they're showing their appetite and their support for it.
Yeah, 100%, right? And I think people are nowadays, they look beyond the network, so to speak, and they look right to the people that are talking, right? It's happened in the US with that guy who was fired from Fox, I think, and he got more views than
Tucker
Fox
Carlson,
Network.
man.
Yeah.
That Tucker Carlson's no joke. That guy's he's a master.
I know. So didn't he get more views than the presidential debate?
Oh yeah. See, the thing, that's a great point that you bring up, Pete. You're clearly on the beat, because the thing about it is because we have all these different, they call it transmedia or multimedia kind of platforms. There's so many different ways, again, to connect and to reach your viewers and fans and audiences at large, right? So as a result of that, you and I came up at a time where we had to be in front of the TV. Okay, we had to. I'm getting goosebumps telling you. We had to be in front of the TV to let's watch the Oilers. Is it Bill Ranford or is it Fear?
Hockey Night in Canada.
Let's watch the Canucks. Kirk McLean's got a whole new fresh Vaughn set. He looks amazing. Okay, it's the Blackhawks. It's Belfort. It's Patrick Waugh on the Montreal game. I'm literally getting goosebumps telling you this. Like, that's what it was for us. But what media has evolved into is a 24/7 technology that's available to anybody. And as a result of that, you have to be where the fish are biting. It doesn't make any sense fishing where there's no fish or the fish aren't going. Like, there's a reason why your grizzly bears in BC go where they go to get that salmon when it's spawning. Do you know what I mean? So the challenge with linear TV, which is traditional, which I love and I'm on, but the challenge with that is it's on when it's on.
Yep.
And it's in that window. So say I'm on the air for 3 hours. Well, what happens in the 11th hour when there's news? What happens in the 18th hour where there's that truck driver in the Okanagan, or there's an engineer who's working night shift in Quebec or over in Switzerland, and that's their window to be able to consume, right? That's their opportunity where they want to consume their sport or their entertainment. So that's kind of where we have the ability to reach them now in ways where we just didn't have the opportunity to do that before.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, I want to go back to you. I want to go back to your career. Like, it's so exciting. It's funny because I think, oh my God, when I hear you speak, I'm like, you have more belief in yourself to play in the National Hockey League than I did when I was drafted by New Jersey. Like, like from hearing you speak, I was like, that is so powerful. Now, here's a couple questions for your career. Did you ever consider the college route, or was it just OHL all the way?
Well, man, okay, so I always considered OHL, but there was a little window where it probably started when I was like 14 or 13, where whatever, 5 days a week, when you'd receive the mail, Canada Post at the time, were letters from schools. Brown, Dartmouth, Michigan State.
Whoa, those are pretty good schools too.
University of Michigan, BC, BU, Maine. Like, there, and I'm not saying that, I'm just kind of walking you through that kind of timeline. And I would come home from school and, okay, there's something from University of Michigan. Okay, the next day it's Michigan Tech. The next day it's Miami of Ohio or wherever. And that happened for probably from when I was 13, 14 for about a year and a half, 2 years. But at the same time, because I was living in CHLville, which is Canada, and just up the street were the Oshawa Generals, just back the other way down the 401 were the Kitchener Rangers. Past that was the London Knights. We were kind of inundated with the junior stuff at the time, as you can imagine, right? And And then some of these games started being televised. Some of these junior games would be televised. And then I'd be able to see, Craig Billington at the time.
Greg Bill, you're bringing up all these names. Hey, these
Biller,
guys, I love it.
right? I'd
Billy
see
was
Biller. Then
phenomenal.
all of a sudden it's a game out west or just Olaf Kolzig guy. I'm like, what?
Yeah,
What's
Olaf.
his name?
By the way, when you say
Yeah.
Olaf Kolzig, I
Yeah.
played against him his first game in the West. I was on the bench. Wade Flaherty was playing.
No way.
Yeah, before the game, he was playing for New West Bruins. I'm like, who is this guy? He's brutal. I'm watching him warm up. He shuts us out. Like 3-0.
That's hilarious. What a
He was awesome.
world. And what a stud goalie he turned out to be, right?
Yeah.
So I'm watching these different Dusty Emu, okay,
Yeah.
it's so in the Western League, Dusty Emu. So I'm literally watching these names. And to be honest, we went to the Memorial Cup, the 1990 Mem Cup, and the final was in Hamilton, right? And my dad and I go, I'm like, Dad, we got to go, man. Freddie's playing. This Freddie Brathwaite's playing.
Freddie Brathwaite, he's such a good guy. I love him.
Right. And my dad's like, well, Freddie's from Barbados, I know his dad from Barbados, blah, 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 blah. And now it's like really, again, adding more rocket fuel to my aspiration, right? I'm seeing this guy, he looks like me. Anyways, we go to the game. It's one of the best Memorial Cup finals of all time. Kevin Butt, who was a starter, he gets injured. Freddie has to come in off the bench. This is Eric Lindros, the Big E, the whole thing. These guys, Oshawa ends up winning this game. And in the other net was Mike Torkia, who I knew from when we lived downtown in Toronto before we moved to Scarborough. So I'm like, this was basically like, I'm telling you, every neuron in my body was like firing, okay? Firing. And I'm in minor Bantam at this point. So 15, yeah, I'm about 15. So I'm watching this. I'm just like, okay, this is for me. The OHL, CHL is for me. And that kind of cemented it. And then because my parents lived about 20 minutes from Oshawa, some of my buddies, when we got our license, we would like pack up in the car if we didn't have a game or practice. We'd drive up to Oshawa, watch the whole show with the big Eric Lindros and Freddie Brathwaite and whatever. And from that point, I knew I was going to go play in junior. That kind of, those things kind of solidified the junior decision for me.
So at the end of the day, college never had a chance. It never had it. Once you saw
really
that,
had a chance at the end of the day.
Out.
Yeah, and here's another kind of maybe a little more practical or philosophical part of it is I was looking at going to college in this standpoint. Okay, as I was evaluating which goalie is where. All right, well, Mike Buzak's playing at Michigan State. Steve Shields is at University of Michigan. This. You start looking around like, I'm going to go there as a freshman. I'm probably not going to play. And am I going to end up burning a year or two of development for that goalie, their starter, to end up either graduating or signing early with an NHL team? And in junior, I had the opportunity to play right away. So it's interesting. I want to tell a lot of the young goalies and their parents this. When I got to junior, guys, I drove my dad drove me up to training camp in Owen Sound. Our OHL draft year just happened to be that year at Maple Leaf Gardens. Like, come on. It's at the old Maple Leaf Gardens. I get drafted to Owen Sound. They already have a stud goalie in Jamie Storr, my boy Storr.
Hey, can I pause you for 2 seconds? I wanted you to listen to this. Here, real quick. Ready?
Oh, go.
Owen Sound, Canadian Hockey League, Kevin Weeks.
There you go, my son. In the second.
There we go. That was it. I don't know. Yeah. Could you hear that? I'm not sure if that was loud enough.
I did. I don't know if you can hear the tears.
Oh, wow. That was before you carry on. Why I watched this episode. Yeah. I was so impressed with how professional you were and how I was like, and I told Nick, our podcast producer, that, oh my God, Kevin was like 10 years ahead of me at this age. Like you look like a man, like you just look so solid and composed and strong and stuff like that. Like I was impressed watching you.
Oh, thank you. And now I'm emotional at 48, it's.
Yeah. Wow. What came in your mind when your name got selected? Like, what's the first thoughts that came in your head?
Just how long of a road it was.
Yeah.
You start thinking about the road and playing pickup and going to play shinny. and then buying hockey cards, and then buying hockey stickers, and your parents working so you can play. Like, yeah, just all those things,
Yeah.
you know, just
Wow.
I'll take a moment, but it just kind of, it crystallizes it.
Yeah. And how proud were your parents?
Super proud, but also very, very grateful, just very humble, hardworking people, super supportive, but very proud.
Yeah. What did your mom and dad do?
So my dad worked at the chocolate factory. He worked at Laura Secord, 1500 Birchmount Road. So he worked at Laura Secord. For the people that are our age, we probably remember Laura Secord chocolate. So he worked there.
Yeah.
They ended up getting purchased by Nestle chocolates, but he worked there for whatever it was, 40 years. My mom worked at Blue Cross as a claims kind of processor at Blue Cross. She was there for just as long. And then she worked at Sick Kids Hospital after that as well. So at the time, just them working a lot of overtime to be able to make it possible for me to play elite hockey. And the time commitment too. Like now that we have a son, it's kind of interesting. Obviously, he's only 9 months, but you see time and how much time takes and commitment takes. So the fact that my parents were as supportive as they were and are, but as supportive as they were at that time, it's pretty mind-boggling. But I'll kind of go back to that time, junior. Owen Sound drafts me, and it's like, whoa, they already have Storzy. Like, Story's a stud. Like, what do we?
He was drafted. Wasn't he drafted first round?
Why are these guys drafted me for? But luckily enough, there was already another guy on the team named Luigi Kelchi, who's from Toronto area. We grew up playing minor hockey together for a few years. And he went to his billet family and said, hey, man, I've known Kev, Robert Brown's family. You guys have to take him in. So basically we billeted together. And honestly, Pete, like my rookie year ended up being my NHL draft year. My rookie OHL year was my NHL draft year. Storzy, we were both 1975 born, but because he's December, his draft year was the next year at 94.
Oh, so he wasn't even drafted yet.
Even drafted yet.
Oh, I didn't know that. I just assumed he was drafted the year before.
No, Storzy went to junior as an underage. I went to junior as a full regular, having played my midget / little tier 2 at St. Mike's. Then next thing you know, that my rookie season ended up being my NHL draft year. So what was really interesting, the first thing, in Owen Sound at the time, there was only like 5 Black people in the town. That's the first thing. So I come from Metro Toronto. I come from Scarborough specifically. So that was a very different dynamic. But on the team, we had a lot of really, really good players and really, really, really good people. I don't want anybody to feel left out, but Andrew Burnett, what a guy. You know, obviously he's going to be coaching Nashville this year. Andrew Burnett led the CHL that year with 162 points, Pete. 162 points. And then we had Scotty Walker. So he was the CHL player of the year. Scotty Walker was on defense at the time, had 91 points as a defenseman, CHL D-Man of the year. We had Storzy, we had myself, we had Wayne Primo, Preem's younger brother. Like we had a squad. Yeah, we had a squad. We had and really good guys. But the one thing I'll say about Bruno is before I got my car, which is a whole different story. Before I got my car, my first car, Andrew Burnett had like a 1984 Chevy Chevette, a brown one. And he called it the Brown Rabbit. And sometimes for us to go home to Toronto to see our families on a couple of days off or a day off, Bruno was kind enough to lend Storzy and I his car. Nice. Unbelievable. Unbelievable stuff.
The two tenders.
But Storzy and I really pushed one another. His late dad was awesome, Mr. Storr. He was great to us. He was like our de facto goalie coach, and he had the puck machine. He'd come on the ice and early before school in junior, like whatever time in the morning, 6 a.m. It's been a real long road for us to get to where we got to. Storzy and I are still lifelong friends. Bruno and I still get, Wayne Primo, Luigi Kelchi's living over in Germany and coaching there. We still talk, but I remember literally, like, you're just a young guy making $35 a week. You know, Pete, you were there.
I know, 35 bucks. Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like, and
that's not fair.
Not fair at all. And luckily, and thanks to Craig Billington too, I worked at his goalie camps up in cottage country in Ontario, and I was able to save enough money to buy my first little 1985 Honda 4-door Civic for like $1,600 for cash.
That was your first car.
My first car, man.
And you earned it and paid for it yourself.
Yeah. Earned it and paid for it myself. Totally earned it and paid for it myself. It was just such a different time because we didn't have the financial resources. You know, a lot of the listeners will love this. The Detroit Red Wings are the Red Wings, but they had the Detroit Junior Wings in the OHL at the time. And it was Mr. Carmanos who went on to own, obviously, Hartford and Carolina Hurricanes for years. So he also owned, because they're from Detroit, so he also owned the Detroit Red Wings. And they played at Joe Louis. So he owned the Detroit Junior Wings. They played at Joe Louis. I remember we go to play the Junior Wings. My man Freddie's in net. I'm playing against Freddie. Anyhow, at the end of the game, we come out after. Keith Primo's there because that's Wayne's older brother, obviously.
Yeah. I work with Caden. I work with his son.
So
Caden.
you know, exactly. No, I've noticed that. I've noticed that.
Great guy.
So Keith, Big Keith is out there. You want to talk motivation? So Keith's like, hey boys, good game, blah, blah, blah. We see keep working hard. So-and-so keep working hard, blah, blah, blah. You know, it's Keith Primo. He's in the show, right? At the time, he's making $250 grand, which seemed like 78 million to us. Yeah. And I'll never forget, I don't have the cash on me now because I paid our babysitter yesterday, but I'll use some Barbados cash because we were just there. Keith Primo had a wad of cash like this big. He goes into the cash. He's like, and he gives Wayne some money. You know, Wayne's his younger brother. Boy, I got to tell you, that was so nice of him. We ate like kings for the next, like, half. We were going to Kelsey's. Preems was taking us to Casey's. It was so cool. But those are like the pivotal moments, you know, again, that just kind of motivate you, give you that extra jolt to aspire to play in the league and accomplish your goal.
Those are different times. That is awesome. Yeah. And so here's a question. So going to Owen Sound, they had a Jamie store there. And then you're saying, like, when you looked at the college one, they had those goalies that they had, but even like getting drafted by Florida, they had some good goalies there. Yeah. How did you overcome because one huge mistake that I made, that when I was drafted by New Jersey, I thought, they got who was it? Alan Chivray, Bob Sovey were the number 1 and 2. I thought they got Craig Billington. They had Kirk McLean at the time. They had Sean Burke and they had Chris Terraria. I thought, there's no chance. I have no chance. I have zero chance. And I showed up in training camp and I was like in the worst condition of anyone there. Like, it was like a week. That's why I do what I do now, because my mindset was just so weak and so backwards back then. Right. So it drives me to inspire people today.
That's amazing.
How did you overcome that? Like for goalies that are listening, because I get that all the time from goalies, you know, I'm going to camp and they got this guy there. But how do you overcome that?
What a question, and really appreciate you sharing your story on that. I didn't know that was your backstory on as to why you're doing all the amazing things that you're doing. So that's very selfless.
Yeah. And on that story, Kev, when I got to camp in New Jersey, I go to my hotel room. Anders Carlson, I don't know if you remember him. He was my roommate. He played a little bit in New Jersey, and he's like, look at the roster, and he says Swedish accent. And I look at it, and it was like, delete Kirk McLean. He just got traded to Vancouver Canucks for Patrick Sundstrom. Right. And then it was delete Sean Burke to the Canadian Olympic team. Delete Chris Terraria to the U.S. Olympic team.
That's right.
All I had to do was breathe and work hard, and I would have stayed there and not been sent back to junior as a 20-year-old, right? But I had played myself out before I got there. I was just thinking of my girlfriend and going back and just minding like the wrong area. Okay, I just had to finish that story off. Back to you.
No, I'm glad that you shared that. That gives so much context because in in what we do, there's a big part of who we are in what we do. And that's, there's kind of that merging of those two to become one. And you sharing that just further crystallizes that. So essentially, I can understand where you're coming from. And when I was drafted by Florida, they ended up having about 4 goalies that had 5 goalies because it was expansion draft prior to the entry draft. And I was one of their first draft picks. I was their second draft pick ever behind Rob Niedermeyer, right? I was a second rounder. Robbie was a first rounder. And basically what happened was, because it wasn't a pre-established franchise like a Montreal or Chicago or, one of those legacy franchises, everything was fresh. But I got to tell you, what makes your question even stronger is they had John Van Beesbrook, who ended up playing out of his mind down there.
Yeah, he did.
Beezer ended up playing out of his mind. Mark Fitzpatrick from Medicine Hat, as you know.
Played against him, yeah.
Yeah, Fitzy ended up playing out of his mind. So that was the 1-2. Then they had Pokey Reddick, who was awesome in the minors. He'd been in the NHL.
I played against Pokey. A quick interruption,
right?
Bill Ranford, when I played against Pokey, Bill Ranford was his backup in the West. That's how good Pokey was.
Your pod with Billy.
Yeah.
This is what's crazy. So then they also had Danny Lorenz. I'm sure you remember the name.
Yeah, Seattle.
Danny Lorenz from Seattle and played a little bit with the ops. So now, to your point, they had all these guys in the system. And all I was thinking was, I'm going to go in here. I'm going to play as hard. I'm going to work out as hard. I'm going to do all these things as possible to give myself a chance to show what I can do. I'm not backing down. I'm not relenting. I'm going for it. That was it. So I was able to kind of compartmentalize and shut off who all those other guys were and what they were capable of doing. And every drill, I wanted to stop every puck. Every single workout, even though I was super skinny and thin at the time and not as strong as I ended up becoming, but every single workout, I wanted to go max out. I was just so fully forward on my toes. And I wasn't waffling. And I was able to get into that state of mind and get myself there and stay there, right, in my approach. However, I'll tell you this, that was a really challenging time if I look back at it, because the roster was already kind of preset. So that's as an 18-year-old going to my first camp. Then as a 19-year-old, okay, I'm kind of further along. I go to that camp. And now I'm like, okay, I've skated with NHL guys. I've been skating with NHL guys since I'm 16 in the summers, right, in Toronto. So Steve Thomas, Stumpy was a player, the great Doug Gilmore, all these guys. I'm playing with these guys. I kind of have, I know that I have it. I can make saves. They're levels above me, but I can do this type thing.
You're actually at their level, but yeah. I hear
what
you're saying.
You get what I mean?
Yep.
You get what I'm saying? So I'm like, okay. Yep. And then it would have been my third camp where, I don't know if you guys recall, but in 94, we had an NHL lockout, 94, 95 Rapids.
Yep.
So that I had gotten traded to Ottawa 67s. Now the path is clear. I've got Craig Hillier, who ended up being a first round pick to Pittsburgh, but I ended up playing the majority of the games in Ottawa, right? Storzy's gone. He's up in LA living with Gretzky. Next thing you know, Storzy's rights get traded from Owen Sound to Windsor. I'm in Ottawa doing my thing. I'm playing in the CHL top prospects game. I think I ended up going like 28 out of 30 or 26 out of 28. Some big glove saves in that game. I was just locked, right? So from there, now I'm like, okay. So during that lockout, the reason I referenced that is we had a lot of Ottawa area NHL guys that skated with us. Luke Richardson, Freddie. I can go up and down the line, guys that were either playing for the Senators or that are from the Ottawa area. They were practicing with us every day. So from that point, I'm like, okay, I could feel my game now. Then I look across the river, Jose Theodore's stud over in Hull, just across the river. All right. So I get to that next training camp, which is my third camp. And I felt really like I was competing for a job. And
Nice.
I ended up, I'll never ever forget. Brian Murray pulled me aside and told me, he's like, listen, you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to play in the league. We've got the best goaltending tandem in the league right now in Beezer and Fitzy. Keep doing what you're doing. And my first goalie coach happened to be the great Billy Smith with the Florida Panthers.
Billy Smith. Yeah. I had him briefly in the East Coast League in Knoxville and stuff. Yeah. This
Right?
guy.
And you know, right? So I'm also grateful to him too, and the late Brian Murray. And they said, if you do what you need to do down in the American League, and then they repeated it to me in the old IHL, we're going to create a spot for you. And it ended up taking about 3 years, 2.5, 3 years, but it ended up happening. And I ended up making the league, and they ended up trading Mark Fitzpatrick. And my training wheels were kind of off at that point. And I was probably like 23, 22 at that point. And that's where I started getting a little taste of NHL action.
I love it. So would you say the big thing as far as if you're up against like other goaltenders is simply just focus? It sounded like it was just you were able to just focus on what you did and keep the focus on the puck, the play, and keep it off of looking over there, looking at what Mark Fitzpatrick is doing or what Van Beedrick is doing. Just play your game. Things will work out.
100%. We're all very competitive. I think every goalies are hyper competitive. We have to be, right? And every goalie, the way you're wired, new goalie, old goalie, young goalie, prospect, veteran, doesn't matter. Every goalie is hyper competitive in our own way. And yes, of course, we want to be the guy. We want to be the girl. We want to be the person. We want to be the stud. No question. But you've got to really focus on your own game. Yes, you can look to other goalies. I was a young goalie too. I collected hockey cards. I'm telling you, next thing you know, I'm playing against Grant Fuhrer. Okay, now I'm against Ashton. You know what I mean? And I'm not there to be the fan that's at Dominic's Variety Store anymore buying the hockey cards. I'm there to make the friggin' saves for my team to help us win. So all of that to say, the same way you look at some of the other players, like, oh my God, it's Crosby, it's whatever. It's all the same. Like, focus on you, focus on your game, focus on your development and your improvement. Focus on improving on some of your things that aren't necessarily strengths. And in doing so, we've all been there, Pete. You know when you're dialed. I watch, I'm telling you, you talk about the shoulders back and getting set before the space. You know when you feel that and you're in that peak state. Every goalie watching this is going to know that, right? I'm getting goosebumps telling you, and I'm not even playing anymore. Every goalie knows what that feels like, which is why I love what you're doing. That's where your focus needs to be. 100%. That's where your focus needs to be, on being able to bring yourself there time after time. And in so doing, your blocker might not be your strongest asset. Your stick might not be the strongest asset. You might not be the best puck handler, but I'm going to tell you what, when you're in that state, you can do anything. And we've all been there, we know what that feeling is like. So that's where you're trying to get as often as possible. And not only for games, not only for the big game, every time you put the armor on, every time you put on the gear, every practice, every goalie training session, every dry land. And for anybody and all of you that are watching, because I love addressing the audience, you're going to see a huge difference in your game. Your game will continue to scale, and your feeling that you get before the games. Because then you're not thinking, well, it's a back-to-back. Oh, I'm playing 3-3. Your mind will be, and your spirit will be exactly where you need it to be to give you the best chance to play and perform the way you want to.
I love it. You know what I love about what you said is not just in games, in practices, switching over sports there. Jerry Rice, a lot of people say that he's like the best to ever play. And there's this, I have this story, I play this little video for my clients, and it is someone who played against Jerry Rice. And he talked about how they were in training camp. It was his first day in training camp. He just got traded. He played against Jerry Rice. He said it was awful playing against him. It was a hard guy to play against. Then he gets traded to San Francisco. He's like, all right, great. First day. You know, he's been in the league for a few years. So he shows up to training camp and he's like, he had a contract with himself. He was always the first one there. So he shows up like 2 hours before they start. And he's like, guess who's on the field already? Jerry Rice.
100%.
And then they start doing warm-ups. And when they're doing their warm-ups, he said Joe Montana, the quarterback, would just pass to guys. Guys would get the ball. They would jog, do a little spin, catch the ball, jog back, give it to Joe Montana. So when Jerry Rice got the ball, he said he would catch the ball, and every time he would sprint as fast as he could 100 yards down to the end zone.
Yeah.
And he said, and he did it every time. Mm-hmm. And he's like, he couldn't believe it. And so he asked me, he goes, why do you do that? And Jerry Rice just said, hey, every time football touches these hands, his body ends up in the end zone.
That's right.
And he finished it with, there are no accidents.
100%. 100%. I'm so glad that you even referenced that, because he's part of the reason why I wore number 80 when I did.
Really? Yeah. I had no idea.
Part of the reason I wore 00.
Yeah.
So primarily during minor hockey, I wore 00. There was a couple of times I messed around with 32 and some other stuff, but for the most part, I wore 00. Everybody knew I wore 00. Mike Torque wore 00. I love Torque, so I wanted to wear 00. And I wore it in junior. I wore it in the minors, and then the NHL. Marty Baron, my boy Marty Baron, was the last guy to wear it. They ended up outlawing it. So then 80, I kind of started playing hockey in 1980, 81. Our original address was 580 Christie Street, and then Jerry Rice. And it was the closest looking number to 00. So that's why I ended up rocking number 80. And then my teammates started calling me Shady 80. So that's the great Jerry Rice. And I'm glad that you tell that story, because I don't really, this is an opportunity for us to connect with a lot of your amazing audience and stuff. I don't really speak about myself often because I'm so concerned with talking about the other players, the other team, and being a steward of the game, and showcasing that to a lot of your listeners. But my parents never had to nudge me to work harder ever. Power skating, goalie session, dry land, run hills, run sprints, whatever, doing all those plyometrics before any of those things were even around, really, or in the mainstream. And I think that's a real big one for a lot of the audience on here. Really invest in yourself and bet on yourself. Because a lot of time we bet on everybody else. We bet on everything else. We're fans of all these other things. Oh my God, it's Beyonce. It's Jay-Z. It's Taylor Swift. It's so amazing. Great. Awesome. I love Italy. I love New York. It's all amazing. But you've got to put that same passion into yourself and your own craft, right, Pete? It makes sense?
Yep. You know what I mean? Stay out of the fan mindset, be in like the athlete
100%.
mindset. Yeah.
Fans pay, performers, we get paid.
Yes.
There's a huge difference there. Not saying, because again, I love excellence in all forms. We love design, architecture, you name it, like all performance, performers, restaurant, amazing. But at the end of the day, fans pay, performers get paid.
Yes,
so
yes.
See yourselves as being.
I like that one.
Right?
Yeah, you can even say fans pay, performers play.
Correct.
And get paid. But yeah.
100%. No, there's no question about it. There's no question about it. So I think that's something, and every time you're in a session, whether you're doing mental training, you've got the goggles on, whether you're stretching, whether you are doing dry land, weights, gym, plyo, anything you're doing, always make sure that you don't shortchange yourself. Yeah. Put that full investment in, because guys and girls, right now we're 12 Eastern. I'll tell you what, I got buddies over in Switzerland. I got buddies over in Germany. I got buddies coaching in Russia and everywhere else. They've already got their workout in. They've already maybe had 2 workouts in. They might have had 2 on ice sessions, and you're still at 0, right? Just based on time of day, especially for you, Pete. You guys are out west. I got a ton of family out west. In fact, we'll be in Alberta this coming weekend visiting family. So, but you're behind time. You see what I mean? In the global kind of clock. So it's always important to remember somebody out there is doing it. I'm going to do it. There's other people that are doing it. I can't be lazy. I can't, shortcut or shortchange my own potential. Always invest in yourself. Always invest in yourself.
Kevin, I want to be respectful of your time. It's been an honor to have you on here. An honor. If it's okay with you, I'd love to have you on again in the future.
Let's do it again. Let's actually do it. Let's do it in relatively short time before the season starts.
Yes, let's
do that again.
Yeah.
Let's do 2.0 before the NHL season starts, because once that starts, I'm in the sausage factory.
Oh, you must be, eh? Yeah, for sure. Because I had some other questions that I want to ask you right now.
Ask one more, and then we'll do a 2-part, or 4, whatever. But what's another one that you have on the tip of your tongue that you're thinking?
The other one I was going to ask, the other question I was just going to ask was, what's the biggest adversity that you had to face, and how did you overcome it? And you may have already talked about that.
Yeah, the biggest, there's several. One of the biggest ones is I couldn't win a game when I first got the league to save my life. Couldn't win a game. Could not. My first start actually happened to be in Ottawa. I mentioned I played junior for the 67s my last year.
Yep.
Had a real good performance. We ended up tying 2-2. I think I was second star. And after that, I was chasing it. There was games where I played really well. There's games where I played okay. There's games where I played pretty well, but I couldn't seem to string it together throughout the course of the game to be able to get the end result that I really wanted and that we needed, which is the W or a tie or what have you. And what's crazy is I just came out of the IHL, where I was IHL goalie of the year. I was
I forgot to mention that. You also. So I know the award you won in the IHL was goalie of the year, right?
Yeah. And
that was impressive. That was a great league.
Thank you. And then the season prior to that, I shredded up the IHL as well before going to the NHL. So for whatever reason, I didn't have the ability at the time. I was struggling with the ability to stitch an entire game together. You see what I mean? It was, and
was it performance? Was it performance, or was it just like the results were some uncontrollables? What would you say?
I would say that it was probably a combo of both, but a lot of it was psychological too, in that if you get behind, then it's like, oh man, the world's against me. And then all of a sudden you're down 2-0. Okay, I got to make this next save. And then you start getting into your elevator more than you should, as opposed to trusting in yourself, even if the result's not quite there, trusting in yourself 100%, playing your game. I started to let those factors impact me some. And then
the focus goes in the wrong areas, right?
100%. And then all of a sudden, the noise, and we weren't even in media like we are now, but the noise, oh, he hasn't won a game, can't win a game, guy won't. Everybody says it's supposed to be. And I started, and some of the media folks started to be really spicy about it too. And I could see what the intent was. So that was, as a human, you're a human being first.
Yeah.
So that all kind of compounded the disappointment of not being able to get the result that I knew I was capable of, then feeling like you're letting your teammates down, then feeling like you're letting your fans down. And then, of course, then the media on it, and then them drumming it. And then it just took on a life of its own. And that was really difficult to get through, man, because it felt like such a dark period.
Did it feel like a slump? Did it feel like people will say like a slump? Did it feel like a slump?
It didn't feel like a slump because I wasn't brutal. You know what I mean? You know those games, you're like, they better use a volleyball out here, because if they're playing with a puck tonight, it's just not, we've all had them, right? But it wasn't that way. It was just like, okay, you make 3 good saves, then you let in a questionable goal. Okay, now you're locked in, you're awesome. Okay, now they score a really good goal. Now you're kind of panicky. Now they score again. Now the game's, that kind of way.
How did you get through it? How'd you get through that?
You know what, man? I'll tell you, I was very lucky, and I am very lucky to have great parents and a great sister.
Really?
I call home a lot. We're a very tight-knit family. They were very helpful. But apart from that, man, I was kind of on an island, really, to be honest. I was kind of on an island. And then, you know, you get traded for Burry, and then all the expectations, and now he hasn't won and he can't win. That was a really, I'd say probably until I ended up winning our first game for the Canucks that next year, or whatever, against the Rangers, I want to say. That was my first NHL win. Then I won a few. Then I started to, starting to kind of get my legs and started playing well. Then we came on an East Coast trip. We were playing well. Then I ended up getting traded in that big trade again. Then there was a whole explosion about leaving Vancouver and that whole thing, which was another dark time. And basically, it wasn't until I got traded here to New York, specifically to the Islanders, that I just felt like I had a new lease on life. And I just felt as though there were 15 church organs that were off my back. There weren't a lot of like pot shots. The media wasn't taking pot shots. It just felt like I had a new opportunity.
In Vancouver, was the media bad in Vancouver?
It was tough.
They're terrible on goalies.
It wasn't. In a lot of them.
Who was the coach? Who was the coach at the time?
It's Mark Crawford.
Oh, it was Jamie Huscroft there.
Husky was there for a little bit, but Mark Crawford was the coach, and
okay,
just some of the, put it this way, some of the things that were said and that were done in today's world would never happen.
Well, I was told,
and we just saw what happened with Mike Babcock.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you could multiply that by 3, 4, 5x.
Yeah.
Right. And it was a different time. You and I know, because we played that time. It was a different time. But the way that people, and some of those people in power, conducted themselves, the way they treated you, like by the end, like honestly, we can get into this next time, but by the end, you don't even know if you want to put your gear on.
I know.
Because they basically talked you down and reduced you and yelled at you, and they're spitting in your face when they're yelling at you and whatever else. You're like, hey, do you actually want me to go out and play for you?
Like, it's actually kind of funny. Like, they just say all the wrong things, and it's like their whole goal is to get you to stop the puck. But like, I know like one of the and I don't know if we can say it, but one of the Sutter coaches, because they're pretty harsh, right, and stuff like that. So he was talking to one of my clients before the period, and all he said to him was, before he goes on the ice, was, "No horseshit goals." That's what, well, he thinks going to play in the guy's head all period 100%. Long.
Exactly. I'm not a big golfer, but I know for a fact you're playing, and then they're like, "Oh, there's a water hazard. Watch out for the water." You're in the drink. You know what I mean? Like, so I felt like that was a really dark time. It was you want to talk about adversity. It was a really trying time. And I didn't feel like I got out of that funk until getting traded to New York Islanders and having, a new opportunity in a new place where I was very fortunate. The great Butchie Goring was our coach. Butchie was great. He's very upbeat, positive. He's on his toes.
Makes all the difference. Doesn't it make all the difference?
Oh, it's not even like, it's 50 worlds apart. It's not even like 10, 20%. It's like 50 worlds apart. Now I come in, I feel good. He makes you feel good. He's affirming things, not to where there's no accountability, but hey, we're going up against the Rangers tonight. It's you against Mike Richter. My money's on you, kid. You got this. Like, I could get emotional again, just even telling you that, because the feeling is so positively, radically different. Do you know what I mean? Like, hey, no big deal. Whatever. You stop 25. We're getting outshot 26 to whatever, 10 in the intermission. Boys, hey, I got to tell you, man, Weesy's giving us a chance. He's doing all he can in here. We got to pick up our game. Like, it's so interesting to me how important those things are for any goaltender at any age, and any player, really, any athlete, but any goaltender at any age, specifically, to have people that empower you, as opposed to people that are trying to dismantle you, dehumanize you, discredit you, and devalue you. It's so different.
Boom. You said it right there.
Right? It's such a different thing. And I see a lot of your content when you're like, coaches, this is what no, this Like,
I was actually a little negative with that content, but I was like,
but
that's how they have always talked to me.
but you're spot on though. It's not even, it's 100% factual, because how can you have that? Like, think about Usain Bolt, right? And the best sprinter. And I know the great Donovan Bailey from back home, and Donovan and I talk, but thinking, Usain Bolt Donovan was the fastest man in the world, won the best ever, best Canadian sprinter ever, won the best in the world ever.
It's phenomenal.
Right. And now Usain obviously took it to another level.
Yeah.
But if you watch Usain Bolt before races, he was never like, he was free, he was limber, he was loose, he was enjoying being in the moment. He knew that he had what it took, but he put it this way, he didn't go and needlessly add weight on his back. His coach never went and put weight on his back. It was empowering, present, loose, dialed in. And when the starting gun went off, bam, and every muscle fiber in his body was able to react for performance as opposed to stiffen up in fear. It's a huge difference, right?
Ben Johnson told me, he said, if you get nervous at all before your race, it drains your energy.
100%. 100%
energy.
It's so true.
Yeah.
It's so when you have coaches or people around you, it's funny. Our team played in the Stanley Cup final in 2002. And a lot of people are like, oh my God, Weeksy, you came in. And Archie, because that was with Artur Zerbe, who was a really good goalie, as you know, multi-time All-Star. But I'll tell you this, Paul Maurice, what people don't know is Paul Maurice pulled me in before the playoffs even started. Weeksy, Archie's my guy. Got to tell you. But the way you've been practicing, I know you from our days in the OHL, which is why we traded for you here in Carolina. You're going to get in the net. You're impressing me. You're impressing your teammates. You're impressing staff. And I've got no hesitation whatsoever to put you in there. Just be ready, because I love what I'm seeing. It'll, again, like, imagine hearing that.
That's all positive. It's all great images in your head. That's going to motivate.
I was so pumped.
Yeah.
So I end up getting it in relief, ironically, here in Jersey in the first round. Archie got pulled in a couple of games. I go into play. I played really well. And I'll never forget the day we finished practice. It was after game 4. I had a game 5. Paul Maurice pulls me in the office. I'm not going to use so much profanity. I'm going to clean it up a little bit, but I got to be real and tell you what he said.
That's all right. You say whatever you want to say.
Paul Maurice calls me into the office. He's like, Weeksy, it's fucking time. You're going tomorrow. You're going big boy. And I want you to go out there and just let them hang. Let them hang down.
That should be a movie. That should be a movie.
Let them hang. Totally. Let them hang. Let them hang like church bells and let them ring. I was like, oh, okay, coach. Okay. I literally left his office, finished my post-practice routine, finished my little workout, my stretch, my whole thing. I didn't have a place in Carolina. I was staying in the hotel then because I got traded there in March. Went back to the hotel where I was living. Started all my visual prep for that next night. Watched video, DVD, visualizing my performance, seeing the game, seeing how the Devils attack, seeing where the great Scott Niedermayer's coming in from. Where's the great Scotty Stevens on a one-timer? Bobby Holik's going to be a big bull in front of the net, trying to box me out. Like, literally playing this game. We get there the next day. I end up playing one of the games of my life. And it's not because I acquired new skills, but it's because I was locked in. I was empowered. I felt empowered from the coach. And all of that culminated, all the work, all the practice, all the goalie sessions with my goalie coach, Sudsy Maharaj, back in Toronto at the time, was the Ducks goalie coach. He's going through a tough time now. So shout out to Sudsy. He's battling cancer as we speak. But all of that kind of culminated into that moment. And Paul Maurice really helped elevate me when I played for him, because he just had that human touch
Yes.
as well as the motivation.
Didn't you get like a couple shutouts in the row then?
Yeah. We ended up shutting it. We won that game 3-2 in overtime. Joe Vasicek, bless his soul, he passed on that plane crash with the team in Russia.
Who? Sorry, I
Joe
missed
Vasicek.
Oh, yeah.
A Czech player.
Sorry to hear.
Big number 63, Big Jojo scored our game winner. So bless his soul and everybody else up there. And we won that game in OT. And then we come back up here to Jersey, and we've got to play what ended up being our closeout game, big game, ABC game, afternoon game. We end up shutting them out 1-0. End up shutting them out 1-0.
What a great feeling.
Thank you. Unbelievable feeling. And then we go back home. We play Montreal first game, shut them out there. And then I was just kind of rolling, but it's so interesting. It's so interesting how much of an impact a lot of our leadership figures can make. And when you talked about earlier, when you said, you're like, oh, you seem like you're so confident, you're so whatever. That's because I never had anybody clip my wings at home. I was held accountable. I have old school parents. I had chores, I had responsibilities, I had values. And if you moved out of line, that was going to be a different story. But as long as you were doing the right things, and specifically to my playing and aspiring to play and all those things, I never had anybody clip my wings at home. And unfortunately, some people do. And if and or when you have that, that can be devastating, because those are your leadership figures, right? And it's kind of the same thing with coaches, which is a big part of what just happened in Columbus and what I was referencing to you in Van and some other places where you play. And when you have that acidic kind of devaluing of who you are as a person, then as an athlete, it's not only that you start to believe it per se, but that's basically like Lewis Hamilton going up to his Formula One car and taking scissors and puncturing the air filter and puncturing the tires, puncture the spoiler, and then say, okay, we're here at F1. We're here in F1 in Vegas. Go ahead and race, and let's see if you can reach the podium. It's likely not going to happen.
Exactly.
Not going to happen.
Whoa. That is a powerful message for coaches, and shout out to Paul Maurice too. Like kudos to him, because I know we talk about things that coaches shouldn't do, yet that's an example of what coaches should do, like 100% should do, right? And there are some great coaches like Willie Deschardins out there. I know he coached NHL.
Awesome.
Yeah, he's coaching Medicine Hat, and he was talking to me about one of his goaltenders last year, and he says, and I don't want to tell him this because I don't want to plant that seed in his mind, right? Is what he said. So I was impressed, right? I was impressed with like how he said that. So he kind of understands all this stuff. But a lot of guys, a lot of coaches just tear down. Kevin, you're the best, buddy. I appreciate so much you coming on here. This is going to be huge. Our listeners are going to love this. They're going to love this.
No, thank you so much, Pete. Again, I'm a real big advocate of what you're doing. I know there's different people out there in the space, but you're really goalie specific, although it's applicable to anything and anyone in any walk of life. But I love that you have the goalie centric slant on it. Yourself, there's Tim Grover, there's some other people out there that I wish were around in our time. A lot of this I had to get by watching other people, by asking people questions. There were some books at the time like Mind Gym and a few other books, The Power of Now, and some of those books at the time that I would hyper consume them in reading them, because it's exactly what you needed. But now that you're doing the work you're doing and some of the folks are doing the work that you're doing, it's right there. It's real time. It's in 4K. It's relatable. It's personable. It's so insightful and so helpful. So continue your amazing work, man, because I know you do it and you're very passionate about it, but you might not realize really the impact of what you're doing and how far reaching it really is. So continued success and keep up the great stuff, man.
Thanks, Kev. I really appreciate it. Thanks for coming on.
Anytime.
The Goalie Mindset Guy, the Goalie Mindset Podcast. We're honored to have the legendary Kevin Weeks on today, and make sure to follow his breaking news stories. And I'm sure you'll see a bunch of them coming up in the near future. And Kevin, thanks, my friend.
Anytime, Pete. Thanks so much for having me. And thanks to the audience too. Remember, a lot of the power lies within you. So believe in yourself and continue investing in yourselves. Great things are possible. Just get after it each and every day, every time. Good things will happen. Trust me.